You arrived without warning, like fate knocking softly on my guarded heart. I was unprepared entirely. Life before you existed was loud yet empty, crowded but lonely, breathing without meaning. Then your presence shifted. Something deep inside, a silent rearranging of forgotten priorities. You didn't promise forever. You didn't demand devotion. You simply stayed, and staying changed everything. I noticed my mornings felt warmer suddenly. Sunrise felt personal, as if written for us. Your name in silence sounded like prayer, not spoken loudly, but felt completely. I measured time differently. Before and after you, moments gained weight. Seconds learned significance. You became reference for calm and chaos, for hope and fear, for strength and surrender. I didn't plan attachment. It grew naturally, like roots underground, breaking concrete gently. I found myself waiting for messages unannounced, for footsteps imagined, for your simple hello. You occupied thoughts without asking permission, like music looping inside sleepless nights. I tried resistance briefly, called it caution, named it wisdom, but love ignores logic. You saw my flaws and paused kindly, not judging harshly, not turning away. That pause mattered, more than compliments, more than promises, more than grand gestures. I realized then, your place wasn't temporary, it wasn't borrowed, it was earned slowly. You entered spaces I kept locked tight, rooms filled with scars, memories wrapped in dust. Instead of fixing, you listened patiently. Instead of leaving, you leaned closer. I watched my defenses lower themselves willingly, not forced or begged, but softened by trust. Your auto rewired my tired mind. It reminded me, joy doesn't require reasons. You made silence safe, not awkward or heavy, just peaceful breathing. Between two present souls, I stopped performing happiness. Around you specifically, I could be unfinished and still be enough. That changed everything. Because acceptance heals, wounds pride hides, and fear protects. I saw my reflection through your gentle eyes, not broken or lacking, just human and learning. You never claimed ownership, yet you belonged. In conversations unsaid, in choices I make, your opinion lingered. Before my decisions, like quiet counsel, guiding reckless instincts, I noticed restraint growing, where impulse once lived, because your place mattered more than momentary pleasure. I didn't want perfection, I wanted honesty, and you gave truth, even when uncomfortable. That honesty bonded, stronger than affection, stronger than attraction, stronger than dependency. You challenged my narratives about love and loss, about endurance and escape, about what lasts. I stopped romanticizing pain, stopped glorifying loneliness, stopped calling survival a substitute for living. You didn't save me, I saved myself, but you reminded why saving mattered. Your place became anchor. During emotional storms, not controlling direction, just preventing drift. I learned consistency, watching how you stayed through ordinary days, without dramatic exits. That reliability rewrote my expectations entirely. Love wasn't fireworks, it was steady light. You showed care quietly, in unnoticed details, remembered preferences, respected boundaries always. Those small recognitions built something massive, a sense of safety I rarely experienced. I realized love is not possession, it is consideration, repeated consistently. Your place grew deeper, not louder or flashier, just more rooted, more undeniably present. I caught myself smiling at mundane thoughts because they involved you without intentional effort. Grocery aisles reminded, random songs echoed, empty chairs noticed. Life included you unconsciously. That's when I knew you weren't a chapter. You were context for the entire story. I feared acknowledging the depth forming because depth invites loss, and loss terrifies me. Still, I leaned forward, despite the risk, because retreat felt worse than potential heartbreak. You didn't demand certainty. You allowed evolution, space to grow, room to breathe. That freedom strengthened what control destroys. Trust flourishes where fear retreats. Your place became sacred, not dramatic or loud, but quietly protected. By my best intentions, I measured my words more thoughtfully now, because you were listening, and I cared deeply. I learned accountability, not from lectures, but from example. You embodied integrity. You owned mistakes without excuses offered. That courage inspired my own responsibility. I started healing patterns I once defended because you deserved a healthier version. Your presence motivated growth, not through pressure, but through possibility. I wanted better. I wanted to arrive emotionally available, not half present, not running away. You deserved fullness, not fragments offered from a guarded heart, afraid of closeness. So I stayed present, through discomfort rising, through vulnerability shaking, through truth's emerging. Your place demanded honesty, not perfection performed, not strength pretended, just authenticity allowed. I began trusting time instead of rushing outcomes, letting I thought I understood what closeness truly meant before you arrived, but I was mistaken, because knowing someone is not sharing laughs, it is sharing silence without needing escape. Your place grew deeper when things felt uncertain, when days felt heavy, when smiles felt forced. You stayed unafraid of my quiet moods, of my distant pauses, of my unreadable eyes. I tested your patience without realizing fully, pulled back emotionally to see reactions form. You didn't chase loudly, didn't disappear silently. You remained consistent, balanced between extremes. That balance mattered more than dramatic words, more than intense emotions, more than promises spoken. I realized slowly, your place wasn't fragile. It didn't shake easily. It didn't demand reassurance. You allowed my fears to surface naturally, without mocking weakness, without using against me. I confessed doubts, not dressed as jokes, not hidden behind humor, but spoken honestly. You listened completely, not interrupting defensively, not correcting immediately, just holding space kindly. That moment redefined what safety truly feels. It is being heard without being reshaped. I noticed my voice sounded calmer around you, less rushed explanations, less defensive storytelling. I stopped over-explaining because you understood. Even unfinished sentences, even broken thoughts, your presence softened. My internal dialogue, that constant critic, finally learned silence. I didn't feel smaller for needing reassurance. I felt human and still respected. Your place became refuge, not from the world, but from myself, from self-created storms. I trusted you with unfinished dreams, with unhealed wounds, with evolving versions. You didn't freeze me. In past mistakes, you allowed movement toward better directions. That permission empowered parts of me buried under survival instincts, learned from past pain. I stopped confusing intensity with intimacy, stopped chasing chaos, calling it passion. You taught me peace can be deep, stability can be exciting, consistency can feel warm. Your place shifted my nervous system from constant alert to gentle awareness. I slept easier, knowing you existed, not beside physically, but emotionally available. You became certainty in an uncertain world, not guaranteed outcomes, but grounded presence. I didn't need labels to understand importance. I felt value through actions repeated. You remembered dates, not because reminders, but because you cared about moments shaping me. Those small remembrances collected quietly until they formed something undeniably solid. Your place grew sacred because it was intentional, not accidental convenience, not emotional dependency. I could walk away and still choose staying because choice matters more than obligation. That realization changed how I love entirely. Love became offering, not survival strategy. I didn't lose myself making space for you. I discovered myself in healthier reflection. Your place expanded as my boundaries healed, as my confidence grew, as my trust stabilized. I noticed growth in how I argued, less attacking defensively, more listening openly. Because you mattered more than being right, more than winning arguments, more than ego satisfaction. You made accountability feel less threatening. Admitting wrongs didn't risk abandonment. That safety reshaped my conflict patterns, turned reactions into thoughtful responses. Your place influenced my future planning, not restricting ambition, but aligning priorities. I imagined success with shared understanding, not lonely achievements celebrated in empty rooms. I wanted wins that included you. Conversations afterward, quiet pride exchanged. You never competed with my dreams. You encouraged them without self-erasure. That support deepened respect alongside affection, love layered with admiration, connection built on equality. Your place demanded my emotional maturity, not perfection demanded, but responsibility required. I learned restraint in moments of anger because your trust was not disposable. I learned patience during misunderstandings because clarity matters more than instant relief. You weren't entertainment for my boredom. You were alignment for my direction. That distinction mattered because love isn't filler, it's foundation. For intentional living, your place grew visible in how I spoke, in how I chose, in how I waited. I stopped chasing validation from unfamiliar faces because being seen by you was enough, not because limitation, but because fulfillment leaves no hunger for unnecessary attention. Your place wasn't jealous, it was secure, and security creates freedom, not fear. I could admire beauty without crossing lines because loyalty felt natural, not enforced by rules. That loyalty wasn't obligation, it was alignment. My values shifted toward preservation, not temptation. I valued what we built, too much to risk for fleeting excitement with shallow rewards. Your place taught me that desire can coexist with discipline practiced, without resentment growing. I didn't feel trapped, I felt chosen, and choosing repeatedly is the purest